The success of D-Day was built on firepower, logistics, and naval precision. And this video walks through every warship that made the operation possible. Let's begin with battleships. Nevada class. These American battleships provided heavy fire support. They pounded the German defenses at Utah Beach with their 14-inch guns. New York class. These older vessels were still incredibly effective. They fired hundreds of shells at the coast to clear the path for the infantry. Then, Wyoming class. Despite its age, this ship was a vital part of the bombardment group. Its 12-inch guns helped suppress enemy batteries early in the morning. Queen Elizabeth class. These legendary British battleships were symbols of power. They used their massive 15-inch guns to destroy reinforced concrete bunkers from miles away. Revenge class. These heavy hitters were perfect for coastal bombardment. They stayed close to the shore to ensure every shell hit its mark against the Atlantic wall. Nelson class. Known for having all their main guns forward, these ships were unique. They provided some of the most concentrated firepower seen during the entire invasion. Next up, monitors. Erebus class. These specialized monitors were built for one thing: smashing targets on land. Their shallow draft allowed them to get close to the beaches. The next one, Roberts class. Another pair of powerful monitors with huge guns. They were essential for taking out the heavy German batteries that threatened the landing craft. Now let's look at heavy cruisers. Baltimore class. These heavy cruisers offered a mix of speed and power. Their 8-inch guns were extremely accurate against mobile enemy units. Northampton class. These ships provided reliable escort and fire support. They were key to protecting the transport fleet from any sudden surface threats. New Orleans class. These well-protected cruisers stayed in the thick of the action. They provided constant cover for the troops landing at Omaha and Utah. Hawkins class. These older British cruisers still had plenty of fight left. They supported the Commonwealth beaches with consistent and heavy shelling. County class. Distinguished by their high hulls, these ships were versatile. They served as effective command hubs, while their guns kept the pressure on the enemy. Now let's look at light cruisers. La Galissonière class. Representing the Free French forces, these cruisers were eager for the fight. They helped liberate their homeland by hammering German positions. Dido class. These light cruisers specialized in anti-aircraft defense. They kept the skies clear of German planes while also providing light shore bombardment. Town class. These were some of the most modern British cruisers at the time. They were workhorses that fired thousands of rounds throughout the day. Leander class. These ships were famous for their reliability and service. They provided crucial support for the landings at Gold and Juno beaches. Arethusa class, smaller and more agile, these cruisers moved quickly where they were needed. They were vital for reacting to changing threats on the shoreline. Emerald class. These fast cruisers were among the quickest ships in the fleet. They could rush to provide fire support at a moment's notice. Danae class. These older cruisers were pushed to their limits during the invasion. They proved that age was just a number when it came to heavy-duty service. Next, Caledon class. These veteran ships from an earlier era were still effective. They filled gaps in the line to ensure no part of the beach was left uncovered. Fiji class. These modern cruisers brought impressive firepower to the operation. They targeted inland roads and bridges to prevent German reinforcements from arriving. Next up, destroyers. Gleaves class. These American destroyers were the unsung heroes of the beaches. They famously sailed into shallow water to provide direct support for pinned-down soldiers. Allen M. Sumner class. These were the newest destroyers in the American fleet. Their twin 5-inch gun mounts delivered a high volume of fire in a very short time. Tribal class. These large British destroyers were built for aggressive action. They screened the fleet from submarines, while occasionally engaging coastal targets. S-class. These destroyers were agile and efficient. They worked tirelessly to hunt down German E-boats that tried to harass the invasion fleet. 5 class. These ships were part of the backbone of the British destroyer force. They spent the day escorting convoys and keeping the sea lanes safe. The next one, U-class. Similar to their sisters, these destroyers were always in motion. They provided a protective screen that was vital for the safety of the troopships. W-class. These vessels were dedicated to escorting the massive transport groups. They helped ensure that thousands of men arrived at the beaches safely. Next, J-class. These destroyers were sleek and powerful. They were often at the front of the line, guiding the smaller craft through the minefields. Now this is the K-class. Known for their durability, these ships handled the rough waters of the Channel well. They provided a steady platform for anti-aircraft and surface fire. N-class. These destroyers served with several different Allied navies. They showed the international spirit of the invasion while providing excellent support. Now this is the F-class. These older destroyers were reliable workhorses. They performed many roles, from laying smoke screens to rescuing men from the water. Then, B-class. These ships were essential for the inner screen of the fleet. They stayed close to the landing areas to provide immediate protection. Hunt class. These smaller destroyers were designed for escort duty. They were perfect for navigating the crowded waters near the landing beaches. Then, Grom class. These Polish destroyers fought with incredible bravery. They were determined to help liberate Europe and took the fight directly to the enemy. Next, Barask class. These French ships were vital for the liberation effort. They provided close-in fire support and helped secure the flanks of the invasion. Wickes Clemson class. These old four-stacker destroyers were converted into fast transports. They carried elite units like the Rangers and Commandos directly to their objectives. Now let's look at small combatants. Flores class. These Dutch ships were small but packed a heavy punch. They were praised for their accurate fire against German coastal batteries. River class. These ships were built for long-range escort duty. They protected the vital supply lines that kept the invasion moving forward. Captain class. These American-built frigates served with the British. They were excellent submarine hunters that kept the English Channel safe. Flower class. These legendary little ships were the heroes of the Atlantic. During D-Day, they escorted the slow-moving supply ships through dangerous waters. Castle class. An improved version of the earlier corvettes. They were more stable and better equipped to handle the chaotic conditions of the Channel. Black Swan class. These were some of the best anti-aircraft and anti-submarine vessels. They provided a high level of protection for the most valuable ships. Let's move on to Minesweepers. Banger class. These Minesweepers were the first to arrive. They cleared the paths through the German minefields under the cover of darkness. Admirable class. These American minesweepers were tough and reliable. They worked close to the shore to ensure the landing craft would not hit any hidden traps. Ork Catherine class. These versatile ships served as minesweepers and escorts. They were essential for maintaining the safe lanes of travel for the entire fleet. Continuing with support and transport, LSH. These served as the brains of the operation. They were packed with radios and command staff to coordinate the massive movement of troops. LCH. These landing craft were converted into mobile headquarters. They allowed commanders to see the battle firsthand and adjust their plans in real time. Liberty ship. These mass-produced cargo ships were the lifeblood of the invasion. They carried the endless supplies of food, fuel, and ammo needed to stay on land. Victory ship. Faster and larger than their predecessors, these cargo vessels were vital. They could outrun many threats while delivering huge amounts of equipment. Empire class. These British merchant ships were essential for logistics. They carried everything from tanks to timber across the choppy waters of the Channel. Prince class. These converted liners were used as fast troop transports. They carried thousands of soldiers and their gear right to the edges of the landing zones. C1 SAY-1 class. These specialized transports were built for the needs of the army. They were critical for getting heavy equipment onto the beachheads. LST-1 class. These massive ships could drive right onto the beach and open their bow doors. They delivered hundreds of tanks and trucks directly to the shore. Up next, LSI. These large ships carried smaller landing craft on their decks. Once near the coast, they lowered the troops into the water for the final run to the beach. LSD. These unique vessels had a floodable dock in the back. They could launch pre-loaded landing craft already full of troops and equipment, finishing off with small craft and special ops. LCI. These were built to carry over 200 soldiers directly to the shore. They used long ramps on the sides to let the men get off quickly. LCT. These were the primary way to get tanks onto the beach. They were slow and flat, but they were the only reason the infantry had armoured support. LCT. These were armoured versions of the tank landing craft. They were designed to survive the heavy fire found at the most defended parts of the beach. LCT. These were some of the most terrifying ships in the fleet. They fired thousands of rockets in a single volley to saturate the German defences before the landing. The next one, LCVP, often called the Higgins boat. This was the most famous craft of the day. It carried 30 men at a time and was the primary way troops hit the sand. LCA. These were the British equivalent of the American landing craft. They were slightly more armoured and were used by the units landing at the Commonwealth beaches. LCN. These were small enough to be carried on larger ships, but big enough to carry a single tank. They were vital for bringing armoured support in the second wave. LCF. These were mobile anti-aircraft platforms. They stayed just offshore to protect the landing troops from German fighter planes. LCG. These were landing craft fitted with medium-sized guns. They acted like small destroyers, providing direct fire support to the infantry on the beach. Next, PT boat. These fast American motorboats were used for patrolling and rescue. They could move quickly to intercept enemy torpedo boats. PT boat. These quick vessels were rugged and reliable. They provided a flexible screen around the invasion fleet and kept the sea lanes clear. MTB. These British motor torpedo boats were built for speed and aggression. They hunted German patrol craft in the dark to protect the main invasion force. ML. These motor launchers were the jacks of all trades. They did everything from laying smoke screens to guiding the landing craft toward the correct beaches.